Welcome, jesters. All right, it seems the Supreme Court has decided, voted that the president's power to use the IEEPA to implement the tariffs, Liberation Day, and the ones that follow that as uh, beyond his authority. Okay, that's fine, but here's the thing: our friends on the left, just to remind you, that was the only authority that was invalidated. All the other statutes are still in place, and since the Supreme Court effectively said, yeah, those are absolutely 100%, the president can do all of those, then I think he's going to do that. I made the other video that said, I don't think this was any kind of 4D chess. They simply went with the weakest position first. And by losing that, they affirmed all of the other statutory authority, which the president is now using. So basically nothing has changed except the question of whether or not the president can tariff is settled. He can. I think this was the unintended consequence of whatever challenges that were brought up. However, I think another unintended consequence, or maybe an intended consequence, or maybe something that was on the back of the mind of some people in the administration is that, well, now that it has been affirmed that the president can tariff, this means that he can proceed with his plan to replace the income tax with tariffs. Now that the Supreme Court has blessed the use of a number of other statutes, yeah, full steam ahead, Mr. President. I definitely don't think this is what our friends on the left were expecting, certainly not what they wanted to happen, but now that this matter is settled, it seems, yes, and the president has talked about this. He's absolutely talked about more than once replacing the income tax, or a significant portion, majority portion, all of the income tax with tariffs, as it was intended to be, as the founding fathers wrote into the Constitution. Tariffs were the original funding mechanism for the federal government, and the federal government should go back to that and be constrained by, well, the international trade that it can negotiate. That's what it's for. That's why the federal government collectively represents the states on the international stage. So by affirming the president's authority to tariff, he can now actually proceed with this plan with an extreme level of gusto. An unintended consequence of our friends on the left's challenge to the IEEPA tariffs, which I don't think they foresaw coming. Was this planned? I don't know. I don't think they had this on a roadmap, but now that it's done, I think they should absolutely move ahead with it. And I think a lot of Americans would really, really like to see that happen, because let's be realistic. The income tax is probably the greatest, well, yeah, it is the greatest social engineering scheme ever devised in the history of humanity. And it's time we got rid of it. And you know I'm right.